Friends, in the previous video, I was discussing about your various techniques in which your digital design can be studied or implemented. Now, I will take care of this particular mode, that is analog VLSI. So the question arises, what is the necessity of analog VLSI? As these days everything is digital, so this can be answered. Many types of signals have indeed moved to the digital domain. You can talk about any signal, but reality is there are certain signals which still are analog in nature. It can be signal from a sensor, maybe from a particular process. So that need to be processed. So in that case, analog VLSI is being required. Second, when we talk about analog VLSI, they are fundamental necessary in many complex and high performance systems. So they need to be designed in a different manner. So we cannot neglect them. We have to process them using a different technique. So here you can see there are applications where it is very difficult or even impossible to replace analog functions with their digital counterparts, regardless of advances in technology. Suppose a filter is to be there, some amplifier is to be there, and amplifier is being used at the interface where you are sensing something that is in very small range in microvolts or microamperes, and that need to be processed. So that cannot be done directly to digital. So some amplification is to be done. Similarly, other applications also where we involved such kind of things where your memory functions, then and that in those cases analog VLSI is important. Also, when we talk about natural signals, it may be from your body or some other place. There we can see that we cannot replace them because for processing they need to be converted into equivalent analog signal then to digital. So the interface between that is actually need to be taken care of. So that can only be done with the help of analog VLSI. These days we are operating our devices at high frequencies in gigahertz range, and that transmission and reception can only be done in analog. So we need some receivers and all. So at that case, we can say analog VLSI is important. Also, when we talk about sensors, like mechanical sensors from your vehicle, these days you find so many sensors are there to sense various properties of your vehicle, tire pressure, fuel, and all. That can be only be studied with the help of mechanical sensors. So there, analog VLSI is important, and electrical parameters, optical parameters. So many things are there. So everywhere you will find out analog VLSI. So to take into care these things, your analog VLSI cannot be neglected, and there is a separate branch that has been dedicated for this complete analysis. Also, when we talk about analog VLSI, it is not going to be an easy task. The reason for that is, as far as your digital systems are being concerned, we are only concerned about your power supply, your area, and frequency. But in this case, we talk about a analog design octagon, because whenever you want to change one thing, it is actually changing the other thing. Suppose you want to actually work on supply voltage. You want to reduce the supply voltage. So when you change the supply voltage, the gain of the analog system will change and voltage swing will also be reduced. Also, when you reduce the supply voltage, linearity of the device is being affected. And when linearity is affected, it will change the noise, and all of them are interrelated to each other. So changing one parameter is actually changing all other parameters. So designing analog is not an easy task. It cannot be a easy task, and it is to be done right from the beginning, taking into consideration all the things. So it is a full custom one. The reason for that is this octagon. If you want to change, suppose you want to change input and output impedance, your gain will immediately affect it. and accordingly you will see entire octagon is being interrelated and it get disturbed. So because of that, you will find out some sort of problem is there. So that is why analog design is a different branch, and we cannot use the same approach as the one you are using for your digital design. So as this is the introduction thing, so we are not going into detail as far as analog VLSI, but being a VLSI beginner, you should be aware of the things that digital design is a different entity, your analog design is different entity. Now I will be discussing about next kind of thing, that is your where you are actually using analog things. So you are using filters, low noise amplifiers, oscillators, mixers, analog to digital converter, and digital to analog converters. So these are the applications where you will find out the analog VLSI. So after analog VLSI and digital VLSI, the one more thing that is very important as far as your VLSI is being concerned, and you are listening to this term more often, is your ASIC. That is application specific integrated circuit. So the first, the definition portion. What actually ASIC is? So it is a microchip design for a special application such as particular kind of transmission protocol or a handheld computer. It can be anything. So you are actually going to design that for a special application. So that is why we are using this term application specific. So we might contrast it with general integrated circuits such as the microprocessor and the random access memory chips in your PC. So they are actually ASIC in nature. ASICs are used in a wide range of applications, including auto emission control, environmental monitoring, and personal digital assistance. So there you can find out plenty of application as far as ASICs are being concerned. So ASIC can be pre-manufactured for a special application, or it can be custom manufactured. Pre-manufactured means we are using some other person's IPs, intellectual properties, or you can go for FPGA. So it depends upon what kind of application you are actually looking for. So the journey of designing an ASIC is long because there are plenty of steps, and it is actually that you give a concept, and for that particular concept you are getting IC. Tape out is means whatever you are actually getting fabricated. So a tape out, the term is being actually used. So product is quite small because it's a IC, but journey is quite lengthy and interesting, and it is having several challenges that is being faced by your researchers and your fabrication team. So these are the steps that are being actually involved in a ASIC design. So the first thing is chip specification. A team actually gives that this kind of things need to be involved in a chip. So this is the first thing, chip specification. And once chip specification is being given, corresponding to that, your design entry or functional verification is to be done. So it is like you're giving a VHDL code or something like that. After that, your RTL synthesis, resistor transistor logic synthesis, RTL, transfer logic is being given. So that is being done. So once this is being done, the entire system is being divided into smaller modules of identical types so that fabrication becomes easy and all. So now, most of the time, when we talk about a system, we never like that we provide a faulty system into the market so that it may damage companies' image and all. So to get rid of that, what is being done? A DFT is being inserted, designed for test, so that actually tests the various patterns that are being involved in the system. So we are going to talk about them in the detail, but here, this is the one of thing. So once partitioning is being done, DFT is being inserted, then the next moment that is very important is floor planning. How you are actually going to keep the various modules, sub modules onto your IC. So it's like a planning a city, because IC is nothing, it's a small city with having all the facilities. Similarly, IC is having all the facilities on it, your power, your clock, your memory. So how they are actually communicating with all of them. So to avoid minimum leakage and all. So what we can do, we are actually looking for a good floor planning. So once floor planning is done, the next thing is placement, how you're actually placing those things onto the chip so that you get rid of unnecessary problems because of this poor planning and all. Then once this is being done, clock tree is being synthesized. So what's a clock tree? How you're actually providing the clock to particular modules. Because when you are actually providing the same clock to different modules, there might be lags and all. So the placement of clock is a quite essential thing and need to be done in a particular manner. So once this thing, steps 5, 6, 7, 8 is completed, then you are actually going to routing the various modules accordingly. So once all the steps are being completed, final verification is being done where you are actually looking forward that whatever you are actually looking for are being achieved or not. So once this is being done, then a GDS2 file is being created. This is basically a graphic data set, and this is being a sort of information regarding various things, that what are the various processes being used and all, what are the various components. So this information is being given to the fabrication lab engineers so that they can fabricate your chip according to your requirement. So it's just like a map of your house being given to your engineer from architect, so he can understand that, well, what for you they are mere lines. You just get a very uh, faint idea what is actually there, but you are not going to get the complete idea. Similarly, here this is the information in the binary format being given to the particular fabrication lab, so they are actually going to design chip according to your requirement. So these are just the steps. I'm going to discuss these steps in detail so that you can get a fair idea about ASIC. So the first thing that is important as far as any design is being concerned, any design process is being concerned, is chip specification. So this is the stage at which your engineer defines features, micro architecture, functionalities, specifications, and guidelines with respect to your ASIC. So two different teams are involved in the juncture. A design team which generates a RTL code, and verification teams which generates a test bench, so that whatever you are actually generating as RTL is actually fulfilling the promise of that you are getting this code generated. So whether this code is actually working as per your inputs or not. So that is quite important. Then next thing that is of importance is step number 2, design entry. So once your design specification is with you, the next thing is you're going to get it being done RTL code into a test bench. So that is called behavioral simulation. So that can only be done with the help of design entry. So you are putting VHDL code and all. So that is what we are actually doing. So corresponding to your design, you are making a code. Then design 3. So here you can see this is your HDL language, then your RTL synthesis and netlisting be generated. So library is being there. So library is a set of thing which is being done by people already. So you are linking these libraries to your design. Suppose you are making OR gate, AND gate, and NAND gate being involved in your design. So the libraries corresponding to setup time, hold time, delays, and everything is actually being generated by sub company. So you are using that library while you are actually implementing that. So what you are actually doing, you are writing a code, synthesis is being done, netlisting being generated, logic is being optimized according to your library, then netlisting is generated, then you are actually creating the layout. Layout means graphical design of your specifications. They are, all these steps are prior to your fabrication. So this goes in this particular fashion. So here you are having RTL, and from RTL to this, but all of them are not being done randomly. Some library is there. So they are taking information from that particular library, library for your gates and all. So we will be discussing about them in the near future, what is inside the library and all, when we actually simulate them in the lab. So step 4 is another important thing, chip partitioning. As I already discussed with you people, that working on entire chip at once, it's not an easy task. So what actually done? They get a good understanding of the design specification. Then your engineers are supposed to partition the entire ASIC into multiple functional blocks, while in mind best performance, technical feasibility, and resource allocation in terms of area, power, cost, and time. So this is the good thing, that when you are actually partitioning, then you are looking how much area is being consumed, how much power is consumed, cost and time. So taking into that, how you're actually going to design that. So all these things are being actually taken care of in this particular step, that is called chip partitioning. So once your design is okay, you won't like that a faulty design get into the practice, so ruining your image of the company and all. So what is best at that particular time? The design need to be tested in advance. So what actually done, that is being taken care of in this design for test insertion. So what happens? You are actually inserting that facility in your design itself, so that it will get tested itself. So with the ongoing trend of lower technology nodes, there is an increase in the system configuration like size, threshold, and virus. Due to these factors, new models and techniques are introduced to high quality testing. So if you keep on testing, design time is more. So to get rid of that, your design for test is actually being inserted in your design. So there are three, four methods by which design can be tested, bit scan and all. So next thing that is important as far as your GDS2 is concerned, because I have used this particular term. So I want you people to understand that what is GDS2. So GDS2 is a file format similar to JPEG, DocX, Excel, etc. Enable a layout design to be transferred from one place to another. That means you are working at SM video, you have designed something and you won't get this particular thing to be into your fabrication. So what you do, you convert your file into GDS2, and that file is actually being handed over to fabrication people. So those people, because there are so many people are involved in that. In the previous video, one of the student have asked the question from here, that we are working in front end or back end. This entire thing is front end, but here so many people are involved. Some people are writing codes, some are actually checking the things, and other are actually working on physical design, that how your chip actually looks like. But still the chip is not being fabricated. So chip is to be fabricated, so physical design people gives the information to the fabrication people. So one who do the fabrication are called foundry guys. They are responsible for doing that. So physical verification is actually being done by electronic design analysis tools. So in short, your entire design is embedded in form of transistors, and you are having these things in your design. So we are actually working on these things in your design. So what's in design? In design, you are having individual intellectual properties, memories, and so many other things. So that need to be fabricated. So this is the type of file in binary format. Human cannot read them. They can only be certain by ID tools, uh, possible mentor graphics and all. So this is another thing. Cadence is also capable of doing that. So step 6, once you are aware of things, partitioning and all, and testing, then we look for next thing, that is called floor planning, blueprint of your chip. So after design for testing, the physical implementation process is to be followed. So in physical design, the first step is RTL to GDS2 design is floor planning. So from your transistor synthesis, you are looking for GDS2 file, which is need to be sent to your fabrication. So what you are actually doing, this is the first step, that is floor planning. So what is the floor planning? It can be decided as or defined as the process of placing blocks in the chip. It includes block placement, design portioning, and pin placement and power optimization. So these things are actually included as far as your floor planning is being concerned. Another thing that is important as far as your floor planning is being concerned is size of the chip, how your gates are being placed, and how you're actually connecting with them with the wires. So while connecting, engineers take care of wire length functionality, which will ensure signals will not interfere with the nearby elements. So that is important as far as your floor planning is being concerned. So when you actually complete the floor planning, you simulate them so that you can get the things verified whether floor planning is good or not. So a good floor planning exercise should came across and take care of following points: minimize the total chip area, routing easy, and improve signal delays. So these are the certain advantages when you are actually going for a good floor planning. Now, once your floor planning is done, the another thing is how you're actually going to place them. So placement is the process of placing standard cells in a row. That means how you are, this is, suppose this is your IC and you are having it various cells. So how you are actually going to place them on your IC. IC is a very small area of your silicon thing. So it helps in reducing performance degradation. Timing requirement is there. So suppose you want to connect this, so you are connecting it like this. So this is actually increasing the area by the interconnect and posing unintentional delays. So that is things need to be taken care of. Power dissipation is another thing. So when you actually talk about placement, these things need to be taken care of. Clock tree synthesis. So when you talk about clock tree synthesis, that means suppose you are having a block, this block and this block, and you are actually going to provide the clock. So what you are doing, this is the first clock, this is the second clock. So this much delay is there in giving the clock. So the best approach is, instead of going like that, you should go like this. So now clock is being delivered to these systems at equal time. So it helps in providing clock connection to the clock pin of a sequential element in required time and area with low power consumption. So that is the another issue as far as your devices being concerned, your partitioning, placement, and your clock tree synthesis. Now, as far as your clock is being concerned, global routing means from module to module, and detailed routing means actual delays of things. So they need to be taken care of. Otherwise, your system might giving you so many problems. So that is related to your ASIC design. This is under routing. Then after this, final verification. So what you do in this undergoes 3 steps. So what you are actually going to do, that layout working the way it is designed to or not. Second thing is avoid any errors before tape out. So how you are actually going to that, layout versus schematic. So layout means suppose this is your transistor. So it looks like this, but on your layout, this cross section is your transistor. So what are the inputs, what are the outputs, and so many other things are associated with that. So that need to be answered in this particular manner. So this we will discuss in the last unit in detail, but here we are saying that design rule check. Suppose you are making the width of your system like this. So is this following the rule or not? Suppose you're making home in a Jammu, there are certain rules that this map to be passed from JDA. This much is the constructed area, not constructed area, green area, and so on. Then what is the difference between two interconnects? So this need to be passed in between that. This is the minimum distance between the two interconnects. So all these things are being actually explained in design rule check. So a software is going to check that. You are not supposed to check that, but software is going to check that and giving you the some error, that whether they are following the rules or not. If they are not following the rules, then you need to correct them before your system is actually going for actual implementation. So logic equivalence, that whatever input output you are getting in the beginning state, you are getting the same at the before fabrication or not. If not, then it need to be taken care of. Last and but not the least is uh, your GDS file is being created. So what is the flow of GDS? Graphical data stream information exchange, and it is being given to the, this is called tape out. Engineer performs wafer processing, packaging and all. So finally your chip is ready for fabrication. So this is just a journey of your system, right from concept for ASIC. Actually, it is quite difficult to understand at a beginner level, but when you start working, you will get a fair idea. And after completing this course, you will get a good understanding of this particular process, what is actually happening. So thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy the learning. And I hope you will give a good interaction so that whatever we study is actually giving us in a right direction.